Guernsey's facing a bit of a demographic time bomb. We've got an ageing population, we're living longer, but we're not necessarily living healthier. And this is where the Sports Commission can hopefully help. We've seen a lot of organisations and some of our sports are offering opportunities for older people and for those with health challenges, but I think we could probably do more. And the aim of holding this seminar was to get interested groups, some from sports, some from other organisations together, just to really have a conversation about what more could be done, what challenges are we facing, what barriers can we break down. And hopefully we went away after last night with some inspiration about what we might be able to do next.
Inactivity is killing us, and the statistics are really quite shocking. The same numbers of people are dying through inactivity as are dying through smoking-related disease. We reckon around about 1 in 6 of all deaths in the UK are related to inactivity. It's the 4th largest cause of disease and disability around the world, and also the rate at which it's increasing is reaching epidemic proportions.
As you get older, you're far more likely to become inactive, and research has shown that 42% of people aged 55 and over are inactive, which is 29% of the total adult population. The least active still stand to benefit most from getting active. Even small changes can really help. And encouraging older adults to be more involved in sports and activity through campaigns such as We Are Undefeatable have had a fantastic success rate. And movement makes people happier. I think that last point is probably the most important. Walking football's changed an awful lot in the last 10 years. It started off as being something that people did purely just for fun. I seem to remember the first survey that we ever did, and it was something like 90% of people did it just for fun. It's become more competitive, it's become more diverse. We've tried to bring some kind of structure to the game. And for me, in the last couple of years, the big developments have been in the women's game and in the impairment game. Our latest research shows that there are 200,000 people in England playing walking football, played in over 70 countries. We had 21 countries taking part at the World Cup. So it's a massive sport. Most people would say it's changed their lives. It's given them the opportunity to either play a new sport, because there's a lot of people who play in the sport who've never played it before, particularly women, but to rekindle friendships and to get out and do something that they always used to do has been fantastic. And certainly what it is doing is creating communities. So the social time afterwards, the cup of tea, coffee or beer or whatever it may be, and the banter that people have on the pitch is as important as the physical activity of staying fit and healthy.
When it comes to things like running, we know that you've got 3 times your body weight going through any one limb at any one time. Walking, we don't have that, significantly less. But the big issue is with walking sports, netball, football, rugby, any of those kind of things, is there's a lot of sharp change of direction, speed changes, range of movement that you're not used to going into. So injuries that we see particularly in chaps is hip injuries and groin strains, because they tend to overstretch massively for balls, especially in walking football we see a lot. And in younger players too, we see, a huge portion of my group is chaps in their 20s and 30s as well. Now, in their case, I might not be ready to send them back to normal running sports that quickly, but something like walking football, if that's their sport, could be an introduction for them to get back to those kind of movements at lower speed. So it's having an awareness of these walking sports for any age population. We're not talking about just for the older generation.
One of the things that came out with Kay's presentation last night is the importance of a warm-up, because as we get older, the chances of pulling muscles gets increased, and the recovery time gets also increased. So the more you can do to prevent that, the better. But what we were doing last night was to try and get the brain and the body working. So we were doing silly things like walking, but counting as well, and counting backwards and juggling the ball just as you walked, because all of that, it gets the mind and the body moving. And then before we did anything else, then you do a couple of stretches. And then we did some cognitive things as well about throwing the ball to each other, where people have to communicate and organise themselves to receive the ball. Just lots of fun things to really get the body and the mind ready to then go and play a game of whatever it may be, in our case walking football. It's vital for individuals to feel fit and healthy, it's vital for the economy as well. But also it's really important for those communities, the individuals to feel part of a group, to feel that they belong to something. That is so important. If you stay active, you are more likely to stay fit and healthy and less frail for longer, which is really important. And it's not just walking football. We get people who come along just for the social side. They don't actually join in with what we do in terms of football. They might do some of the exercises, they might come and have a coffee afterwards. So there are so many more opportunities here other than walking football. I think it's just that we were probably the first walking sport and the most popular game in the world, and therefore it gets more publicity, but there's so many more opportunities.
I always say to my players, whether they've had surgery, illness, anything, your first few sessions you should feel like you could have done more but you chose not to. You should come away feeling like you had a bit of a reserve actually. That's a good place to start. Don't ignore aches and pains, okay? You can tell if you haven't done it for 20 years and it's there every session, week in, week out, it's not going to get better on its own. It's not going to go away. A little pull that's there and you feel like, oh, I just pulled that, and the next session it's not there, fine. That's probably just your body adapting. But if you're noticing, oh yeah, I'm just starting to, I can feel my knee after every time I do a session, there's something there and you're better to go and see it whilst you're still able to do the sport than wait until you can't.
One of the things that came out of last night was about different groups working together. So you have a walking netball group and a walking football group. If they were to meet at the same time, you might get some partners of the one sport who might join in with the other sport. So something like that, it's just a case of a bit of joined up thinking. I loved the idea last night about working with children to get their grandparents to go out and to play, and the idea of cross-generation football or whatever sports as well. I just think there's so many things that came out of last night that were so positive. So physical activity is great for keeping people fit and healthy for longer and less dependent on other family members and less dependent on society.
It was a fantastic evening, and a big thank you to everybody who came along, and of course our three guest speakers. I think there are quite a lot of things that we can take away from it. Perhaps the first thing is that we really need to work together on this, and then hopefully we can come up with maybe an event, something similar to our Family Fun Day, when we can get some of our sports together to offer some of those walking sport opportunities, give a bit of a taster to people, and really start that conversation. I know it's going to take time, the Sports Commission knows it's going to take time, but hopefully we've made a good start this evening.